Hello. Welcome to the Pucylowski Sports Hour. It's the first ever episode of this new podcast that I've decided to start. If you found this, either you found this through knowing me or somehow this got recommended to you. Whatever it is, thank you for joining me. Uh, it's an honor to take any time out of your day. So feel free to stay with me, whether you're doing your homework or you're just riding in the car. I'm going to primarily on this podcast be talking about the modern sports world. I like to talk about basketball and the NBA. I like to talk about the NFL, and I like to talk about college football. And every once in a while, I'll dabble in other sports like baseball if the playoffs is going on or something. But I figured since you guys probably don't know a lot about me and not a lot of my sports knowledge, you're thinking, why the hell should I listen to this guy? To be honest, that's a great question. I don't think I can answer that for you. But hi, I am JP. At least that's what my friends call me. Full name is Jonathan Pucylowski. It's a weird last name, very hard to pronounce, I would say, from a Polish background. But I pride myself in, learning sports every single day. I watch a lot of sports. I've watched since I was in, kindergarten. In terms of sports that I've played, I've only played basketball in my life. Up until recently, in the past 2 years, I started playing golf. But I've played basketball almost my entire life. I've been a short, undersized kid who just played point guard. But I pride myself in my leadership out there on the court. And my ability to shoot, which of course you kind of have to do when you're, white and you're undersized. You're not going down in the post against anybody. You're gonna get thrown around. I am a senior in high school, at least going into my senior year in high school, whatever that's going to be during this big pandemic. But I go to Sequoia High School in Woodstock, Georgia. Right now you're joining me in my closet. This is kind of what I've made of a makeshift studio, sort of, kind of. What you'll see behind me is not just like teams that I like, but my goal is, because I own a lot of sports merchandise, good and bad teams that I like. Most of the time it's players that I respect, but I own a lot of merchandise, so my thought was, well, if I'm going to talk about these teams or these players, I would put them behind me so, you get a better knowledge of what I was going to talk about in this episode. So like if you were watching this on YouTube and you saw the thumbnail, he's talking about the Boston Celtics that day. Or he's talking about the Los Angeles Lakers, So that's why these are behind me. This is not necessarily my favorite teams or my favorite players, although anytime I bought this, it's for a player or for a team. Just to set the record straight for, future episodes, to show I'm a little biased here and there. Of course, I'm a big sports fan, and who isn't a little bit biased? I am a Golden State Warriors fan for the NBA. Kobe Bryant was the main reason I got into basketball, so I will praise the Lakers from time to time, especially Kobe. In terms of the NFL, I am a Saints fan, New Orleans Saints fan. Drew Brees has been a hero of mine for most of my life. So I pride, as a Saints fan, the Who Dat Nation out there. In terms of the MLB, I am a Atlanta Braves fan. Just cheer for the hometown team. I'm not like one of those other kids that decided, oh, I'm gonna cheer for the Yankees, because they're really good. When I was a kid, no, I have cheered for the Braves. Just really gotten into Braves baseball this past season. These past 2 seasons since they've gotten good now. I mean, what can I say? I can't really cheer for the Falcons or anything because they're 28-3. What can I say? In terms of college, I am a Clemson Tiger fan. It is the hoodie that I'm wearing right now. And I'm a Mississippi State Bulldog fan. And no, I'm not just a fan of those teams because they're good. My mom and her entire side of the family graduated from Clemson, so that's why I would be a Clemson Tiger fan. And then my dad went to Mississippi State, and that's why I'm a Mississippi State fan. Probably the same reason a lot of you guys out there are fans of Georgia or someone, because that's where your parents went to. So that's why I'm a fan of those teams. I will praise my pride in those teams throughout these podcasts, and as the college football season comes, whatever that becomes, I'll probably talk about that in a future episode, along with what the NFL season may look like, my predictions for it. Anyway, just that was a little housekeeping. Welcome. Today I will be talking about, I believe, 4 different things here. The 4 things you see right here. Mainly NBA-centric, because that is what's going on right now. There are 22 teams, I believe, in the bubble right now, all competing to get playoff seeding, and then the playoffs will start in about 2 weeks, I believe. But that is what's going on right now. Teams are playing as we speak. But believe that today is August 5th, 2020. It is 10:24 p.m. as I'm recording this, so all the games for the day have already happened. I believe the Thunder beat the Lakers today. Not really a game I really care about because the Lakers have already secured the number 1 seed, so it doesn't really matter that much. And then I believe the Braves were playing the Tampa Bay Rays today. Last time I checked, it was the bottom of the 7th, and they were down 2-1. But as I get into this, I guess we'll move to my first topic of the day I would like to talk about is that team right there, the Los Angeles Lakers. If I ever get a soundbite, I would play the soundbite right here. Bold take inbound. Gonna upset a lot of people here, so soundbite. Okay, that's probably enough time for that soundbite. Anyway, first thing here's my hot take. The Los Angeles Lakers, will not win the NBA title this year. Let that sink in. Choose to believe it or not, it's the truth. They will not be winning the title this year. And here's why. Every single time LeBron James has won an NBA title, he's had a Hall of Fame Big 3 around him. And he's part of that Big 3, of course. In his first championship with Miami, he had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And in that second one, when they repeated back-to-back, he had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Of course, he needed, the big Ray Allen shot. Fuck that shot. I hated that shot. I cried that day. Because I hated LeBron. He was the villain to me. He beat up on my Thunder and Kevin Durant, and then he ended up beating the Spurs, and I was cheering for the Spurs that year, so that Ray Allen shot, every time I see it, just brings back so many painful memories. When he bails out LeBron James, because, in case we forgot, LeBron missed the game-winning shot in that game. And he shouldn't have gotten a Game 7 if, stupid Danny Green chose to box out Chris Bosh, which he didn't. But like I said, he's He's had a Hall of Fame big three in every championship he's won. With his title, when he came back 3-1 down against my Warriors, he had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. Kyrie, if he keeps it going, if he has a comeback with Brooklyn, he's got a chance at the Hall of Fame. And if Kevin Love ever returns, at least what he did in Minnesota and the years he had in Cleveland, I think he has a chance at the Hall of Fame. He didn't have as good a career as Chris Bosh by any standards, but I think he's got a shot. But the big thing is, with the Lakers, you have LeBron, you have Anthony Davis, but then who do you have after that? Who's their third guy? Who is the third guy you're going to trust down the stretch to hit the big shot? Who's that going to be? Danny Green? Well, Danny Green, when he won the championship with the San Antonio Spurs, was the fifth best player on the team. Behind Kawhi, behind Tim Duncan, behind Tony Parker, behind Manu Ginobili, and to be honest, you could argue behind Thiago Splitter for some of that time. Thiago Splitter had a very good run with that Spurs team. And then in his second championship with the Raptors, the sixth best player on the team. He had one good game during that final series. He didn't really show up against the Milwaukee Bucks in the conference finals. Behind Kawhi, obviously, behind Kyle Lowry, behind Serge Ibaka, behind Pascal Siakam, definitely behind Fred VanVleet, behind Marc Gasol, and then you could argue Norman Powell had just as good of a series as Danny Green did. So it's not Danny Green. It can't be. If you've watched the Lakers 4 games in the bubble so far, he hasn't scored. He's not as dynamic as he was. Just because he had that one final series against the Heat, the very first one, where he hit, like 24 threes or something, and in front of Ray Allen to beat his record, he hasn't been the same since then. He wasn't the same in the second year when he won his first championship, and he still hasn't been the same since then. Yes, he's still a threat to shoot the three, of course, and you have to respect his three-point shot, but he isn't the same shooter. Kyle Kuzma, is that the third guy? 0 playoff games he's played in. 0. And he hasn't shown that he's gelled well with LeBron James. So why do you think in the NBA Finals, or hell, even in the conference finals, you can trust Kyle Kuzma? There's a reason he almost got traded. Because LeBron can't trust him. I don't trust him, that's for sure. On any NBA team right now, he is not my number one guy. I don't think he'd be a second guy, besides maybe for the Charlotte Hornets. But that's the Charlotte Hornets. So how is he going to be the third guy on an NBA championship team if he could barely be the second guy for the Charlotte Hornets? J.R. Smith. That's who you're going to... Yep, J.R. Smith. Yep. Remember the last time he played in the NBA Finals? When LeBron sprained his wrist because he punched the shit out of a chair because J.R. Smith had smoked too much that day and he didn't know the score. Yes, that's right. 10-year NBA veteran J.R. Smith didn't know the score in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Now, granted, George Hill should have hit the second free throw. No doubt about that. He should have hit the second free throw. There's no excuse for that. But J.R. Smith had a point-blank layup to win Game 1 of the Finals after LeBron scores 51 points. LeBron has one of the single best performances in an NBA Finals game ever. It's all taken away because of J.R. Smith. So don't tell me J.R. Smith is the third guy. He's not. And then you tell me, it's Dion Waiters. Dion Waiters. Yes. Was a bust in Oklahoma City. Was a bust in Cleveland. Was a bust in Miami. And now he comes to the Lakers. He showed promise. No doubt about that. He's had some good plays in the games that I have watched of the Lakers. But he's not the third guy. He's on the bench. If he was the third guy, he'd be starting right now. He's not James Harden coming off the bench for the old Thunder. It's Dion Waiters. He can create his own shot, but he is not scoring 20 a night for you in the NBA Finals. And then you'll tell me, no, it's that, receding hairline at 24. No offense to him, with the big headband, Alex Caruso. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. You go ahead and hold on to that, yeah. Go ahead and tell me Alex Caruso is the third best player in the Lakers. Yeah. How about that? That's funny. That's funny. What about Shaq's man, JaVale McGee? Maybe. You hold on to that. Don't come to tell me JaVale McGee is the third best player in the NBA. Not the NBA. For the Los Angeles Lakers. You come and tell me that. Please do. Good luck with that. So, you remember when the Lakers had DeMarcus Cousins earlier in the year? Y'all remember that? DeMarcus Cousins. They moved off of him because, their thought was, at the time he had, a bad injury and he wasn't projected to finish out the season. So at the time I can understand the release of him, but I believe he would have been ready to go right now. He could have been the third guy for sure. He showed it last year as a third guy. He was that third guy for the Golden State Warriors. When the third offensive guy, of course. Draymond is not a scoring threat. And when Clay was hurt, he was the third guy. So, man, they could have used him now. No doubt about that. That would have been the third guy. They don't have a third guy. LeBron's never won without a big three. He's got a big two. And he's got Anthony Davis, who's played in a total of 12 playoff games. Something like that. Never played in the NBA Finals. And if he's going up against the Clippers, he doesn't really show up in the fourth quarter. Weird stat is he's only scored, I believe, 12 points total in 4 games against the Clippers this season in the fourth quarter. 12 points. 12. And my second point is why they're not winning the championship is, look, their biggest opponent couldn't be in a better position to beat them. Everyone on the Clippers, besides Lou Williams and Reggie Jackson and Montrezl Harrell and Ivica Zubac, everyone else can pick up LeBron for a possession, and in fact, multiple possessions. That team is built to beat LeBron. That is what they did in the offseason. That was their entire goal. How do we set ourselves up? By getting Kawhi Leonard and getting Paul George to beat LeBron James. What do we need? Well, they went and got Marcus Morris. It was one of the Morris. I believe it's Marcus Morris. He'll be able to pick up LeBron. He can guard LeBron for a few possessions. Not saying he can shut down LeBron, but he can guard LeBron for a few possessions if Kawhi and Paul George need a quick break. Patrick Beverley, I mean, he's a pain in the ass for everyone. He's been a pain in the ass for Kevin Durant. When he's played against LeBron, he's been a pain in the ass. Everyone hates to play against him, but loves to play on his team. So he could pick up LeBron for a few possessions. So, I mean, they've got 4 guys right there who have the capability of defending LeBron for a few possessions with no doubt. And it's not like they don't have bigs that can't compete with Anthony Davis or can't compete with JaVale McGee or can't compete with Dwight Howard, who Dwight Howard at this moment right now, earlier today, he left the game with a sore knee. So who knows what his status will be for the rest of the bubble. But like I said, they've got guys who can guard LeBron James. Which brings me to my third point. Anyone noticed when the Lakers played the Clippers in that first bubble game who was on the sidelines for the Clippers? Short, undersized guy. He was yelling a lot. He got stepped over by Allen Iverson. Ring a bell? Tyronn Lue. He's an assistant coach for the Clippers. You think they just did that to get him? You think there wasn't any strategy involved behind that? LeBron's coach for the past 3 years. Coming in. He's talked with LeBron on multiple occasions. He knows what LeBron likes to go to at the end of the game because that's a lot of the stuff he drew up for LeBron. So he knows LeBron very well. And he's not afraid to give some insight into what LeBron James does well and likes to do, and the stuff he does to, get a quick bucket here or there, stuff to pick up on, stuff you don't see on film because it's in the huddles. And it's not like the friendship with him and LeBron is going to stop him. Because a lot of people think, well, Tyronn Lue isn't an NBA champion as a head coach without LeBron James. So now he goes and wins with someone else. Of course, he's the assistant coach, but he gets another ring, and LeBron doesn't. So that boosts his ego. And now my fourth point, what I've mentioned multiple times, they're playing in a bubble. They're playing in a bubble. There are no fans there. There is no home game. There is no Game 1 and Game 2 in the Staples Center for the conference finals. There's no Game 7 in the Staples Center. There's no Game 5 in the Staples Center. That doesn't exist anymore. There isn't a home game for the Lakers. And in that Staples Center, especially in the house that Kobe built on the year where the passing of Kobe Bryant and the loss of him is an all-time high, the turnout was going to be big. And the big thing is their biggest opponent, the Clippers, in the same building, they would have 7 home games. 7 home games against the Los Angeles Clippers. I'm not saying Kawhi and Paul George can't handle the heat, but that's just too hard to overcome. They don't get any free passes anymore. The Lakers don't get a free home game where they are almost guaranteed to win. Because they have a crowd on their side. It doesn't exist anymore. The first round is not a home game for them. And if the Trailblazers, if you ask me, if the Trailblazers get the 8 seed, then they might have some trouble against them, to be honest. Now, the loss of Trevor Ariza on that Trailblazers team means the Trailblazers have no one to defend LeBron, but they got bigs in the paint. They got Nurkic. They got Hassan Whiteside. They got Zach Collins. They got guys who can defend the rim, not saying they can guard LeBron when he's got a full head of steam going to the rim. But they got rim protectors. They got guys who can stay with Anthony Davis, not saying they can guard Anthony Davis. But then again, with the loss of Rajon Rondo and Avery Bradley, both really good defenders, who's guarding Damian Lillard? The best scorer in the bubble right now with the loss of Steph Curry. Who's guarding CJ McCollum? No one. Alex Caruso cannot guard Damian Lillard. J.R. Smith cannot guard Damian Lillard. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, assuming that he's not back in jail again, will not be able to guard Damian Lillard. The Trailblazers have a chance to win 2 games there, if you ask me. I think they will. I think that series goes 6. But then I think the power of LeBron and the fact that the Trailblazers have no one who can stop him, they end up winning that series. And then, in the second round, they'll likely face the Rockets, barring that the Thunder don't beat the Rockets in that 4-game series. The Thunder looking amazing right now. They beat the Lakers today by 20. Of course, like I said, that game doesn't really matter to me. I don't care that much about it because it's a regular season game and it's in the bubble. And yes, the Lakers want to get a groove, but they already have the number 1 seed locked up, so it doesn't really matter too much to them. But the Rockets, they've got a chance. I mean, who's to say if they get hot for 2 nights and knock down 23s and then they steal 2 because, who's guarding James Harden on that team? Who's guarding Russell Westbrook? It's the same problem with the Trailblazers. There's no one to guard the guards. They're going to have difficulty guarding the 3. No one's quick enough out there. They can guard the paint. They've got players who can guard the paint. If this was the league of Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson still, they would be more than fine. But it's not Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon anymore. It's Damian Lillard. It's Russell Westbrook. It's James Harden. You got to be able to guard the guards, and they don't have anyone to guard the guards because they don't have Rajon Rondo or Avery Bradley anymore. So who's to say the Rockets can't beat the Lakers? Who's to say that? I mean, at the end of the day, the Lakers are missing too many pieces. LeBron doesn't have a third guy to go to. There's no home game. The Clippers are stacked to beat LeBron. So in that case, they're not winning a championship. If they get to the finals, they may struggle against the Milwaukee Bucks. Because Giannis is a freak. If Chris Middleton ever decides to show up, he will be really good. They got bigs who can defend the paint. So who's to say they can beat the Bucks? And I think the Bucks would be an easier series than the Clippers, but in my mind, the Lakers, they don't have a shot to win the championship. And LeBron needs to win the championship this year because he's running out of time. But I don't think they're going to win it. Anyway, for my next topic, I go to the team that I previously just mentioned, the Houston Rockets. and my thoughts for their quest on the title. And now insert that weird sound again where I switch topics. I don't know. I'll think of something at some point. I promise the production is going to come up on this a little bit. There won't be a video version of this because, my iPhone ran out of storage, obviously. Just like the memes. It ran out of storage 15 minutes into recording this, so the first 15 minutes I'm talking as if I have a camera on, because I did. So you can't see anything that's behind me. I'll try and on the YouTube video throw up a thumbnail or something so you at least know what I would be talking about. All of that garbage. Anyway, the Houston Rockets. Here we go. You see, here's the thing. You guys remember 3 years ago? It's almost 3 years ago to the date. I believe it's like sometime in August, 3 years ago. Remember that Floyd Mayweather Conor McGregor fight? The big fight where McGregor came in. I don't have a McGregor voice, but I imagine he said, I'm gonna kick that guy's ass, in a big Irish tone. And, we all knew the outcome. We all knew McGregor's not winning this fight. It's not happening. Floyd Mayweather, I believe he was undefeated. He still is, I believe. Is the best defensive fighter we've probably ever seen in the boxing ring. When I grew up, I always knew, I didn't watch a lot of Floyd Mayweather fights. The only fights I've ever watched, in fact, are Pacquiao versus Mayweather, and then McGregor versus Mayweather. So that's the only two fights I've ever watched him fight. And, I honestly don't remember much about them because I'm not the same guy. Then I don't process the same stuff. But growing up, I knew this guy's good. Yeah, this guy's the best fighter in all of boxing. No question about it. But the thing is, we all knew McGregor had no chance. He wasn't winning that fight, and the only way he was to win by knockout. I mean, who's to say he doesn't throw up a quick combo and knock out Mayweather? And it'd be the craziest shit anyone has ever seen. I know today McGregor would still not be living that down to Mayweather. I mean, that would be a gif all over social media. Would be used in so many conversations, so many group chats of McGregor dropping Mayweather to the floor. But what the biz likes to call that, what I like to call that, it's called a puncher's chance. It's something that we've classified the Houston Rockets as for multiple years now. They're a puncher's chance. With Mike D'Antoni, after they let Kevin Harlan go, they completely changed their philosophy. We're going to jack up as many threes as we can possibly shoot. I mean, it was like playing 2K My Team, where through the end of the year and you've got all the Galaxy Opals and every single one of them can shoot. So all you do, especially in 2K20, all you do would you take like one dribble up the floor and then you would throw it to your shooting guard and you would pull up from the hash with no shot meter and green it like 3 out of 5 times. And that's the cheese this year. I mean, it's the same. It's kind of the same thing with the Houston Rockets. It's quick shots. It's isolation basketball. It's everyone on the floor can shoot. Their tallest guy on the court at any time is 6'7" PJ Tucker. Actually 6'8", which is not a big difference here. And we're talking that's undersized for the NBA. I believe LeBron 6'10". He's playing point guard for the Lakers. So, they can shoot threes all over the floor. And honestly, that, I believe, gives them an advantage going into this bubble. You've seen it so far in the Dallas Mavericks game. I mean, they were outplayed the entire game. But at the end of the game, they kept hitting. They hit enough threes, and then, Luka Doncic, being how young he is, has learned how to finish out games. Harden went in there and he closed it out. And then they did the same the other night against Milwaukee. Russell Westbrook and James Harden, both MVP caliber players, have been carrying their teams to the playoffs through these past years. I mean, my big knock on Harden primarily has been, well, this guy, he doesn't win a lot of playoff games. I believe he's had a 37-36 record total. That's his total playoff record. I believe he's been knocked out by the Warriors 3 times. He's never swept a playoff series. How crazy that is to believe that a guy that caliber has not swept a playoff series. Even when they were the 1 seed, they didn't sweep the Timberwolves that year, if you remember. Jimmy Butler still stole a game from them somehow, and they ended up winning that series in 5. So that's been my big knock on James Harden, has been, well, this guy doesn't show up in the playoffs. And part of the reason is, well, he gets wore out. When you score 34 plus a night, being the scorer that he is, and you're playing 40 minutes a night, and you're attacking the rim that many times, and you're shooting free throws that many times, your body can't handle that 100 times. It's not possible. You can't train your body enough. At some point, you get tired. You're not the same guy in game 87 as you were in game 15. Hell, even in game 64, you're not the same guy. There's not enough breaks in the season. And now that they're given a 4-month hiatus from playing basketball, and they got a chance to replenish their bodies, and even though, yes, this is in the same season, this is a whole new season now. I mean, we've seen it. It's a whole new season now. Harden's got a chance to recover. Westbrook, he's gotten hurt a couple times near the playoffs, and he hasn't, made deep playoff runs because it looks like he gets wore out as well. But now he's gotten a chance to recover. And now this Rockets team is really dangerous because they have tons of guys who can shoot. Right now, Eric Gordon, when he returns, will be another guy who can shoot, and a 3-point competition champion in the All-Star weekend a couple years ago. If he can return to that similar shooting form, that's another guy who can shoot. I mean, there isn't a guy on that team that plays minutes who can't shoot a 3. PJ Tucker, his three-point game is diminished a little bit, I would say. It's just something I've noticed in the bubble, but hopefully he picks that up. But all I'm saying is, don't count the Rockets out. As hard as I've been on James Harden, and I've, as a former Thunder fan, loved Russell Westbrook and cheered for him deeply in the playoffs, don't count them out. They've got a chance. A really good chance. And in fact, I think they have a chance to beat the Lakers in the second round. And even a chance, who's to say, like I said against the Lakers, what if they just get hot and they stay hot and they don't get cold. They just keep shooting. They make 25 threes. They don't have the thing that they had against the Warriors a couple years ago, where I think they made like 3 threes and they shot like 40 of them in one of the elimination games. Hopefully they don't go through that. But don't count them out. The Rockets are a championship team. The Lakers are not. The Rockets have a chance to win the championship. The Lakers do not. If LeBron carries that team to the championship, it'll be his single greatest accomplishment ever. And now we can start having the conversations. All right, this guy better than Jordan. Before, he's not better than Jordan. If he carries them there, he's got a chance. You can make that argument. And to be honest, I probably would still argue Jordan, but you can make that argument. But they're not a championship team. The Rockets are. As weird as that sounds, the Rockets are a championship team. They've got a puncher's chance. And then this is where I would roll the clip. All right, next time. Or something. I don't know. I'll think of something at some point. We'll get the production on this. Well, if we were watching the video, like if I was watching myself through my own iPhone camera, through a selfie, that's right, I'm poor. I'm in a closet, okay? So, I mean, don't make fun of me too much. I spent $600-something, like 70% of my paycheck for 3 weeks on all this podcast equipment because I wanted to do this. And I'm having a lot of fun, I'd say, in this first episode. I hope you guys are too. So hopefully at some point I'll get an actual camera. I'm going to upgrade my iPhone storage because now I realize I have to. I didn't think I'd have to now, or I have to before. Guess I got to delete all those meme photos. All those Victory Royale photos, if you know what I mean. All my Fortnite players out there. Not a big Fortnite player, by the way. I play NBA 2K, Madden, and MLB The Show lately for like 5 hours a day. And I play golf. I don't play Fortnite. I have no idea. Apparently, they drain the water from the map, and they have cars. I was informed that today. I didn't realize that. Enough Fortnite talk. That's enough Fortnite for the day. I don't think anyone really cared about Fortnite when they came here. Never going to come out of my mouth again. Anyway, next topic. I know we played the sound. Well, we think we played the sound like a minute ago, but the Boston Celtics, they would have been above my left shoulder on the video here. There is no video, of course. The Boston Celtics, talking about them and their championship chances. Their chances at beating the Milwaukee Bucks and going to the NBA Finals. The big thing with the Boston Celtics is, with the loss, our thought was, with the loss of Kyrie Irving, did this team still have a chance to get back where they were 2 years ago when they were in a Game 7 against LeBron James in Boston? Could they return to that stature where they could have went to the NBA Finals? And to be honest, in this bubble, I think they can. And I don't think they will. I think Giannis is just, not to beat the dead horse because that's his nickname, but he's just such a freak. The Celtics don't match up well against the Bucks anyway. I mean, their biggest guys, Daniel Theis and Enes Kanter. Those are not big men. Those are power forwards, stretch bigs. They're not big men. Where the Bucks, they have big men. They have the Lopez brothers. They have Giannis. Ersan Ilyasova, who's apparently still playing in the league. Crazy to me. I didn't know he was still playing. He's still a Buck too. That's the crazy thing. That guy's been playing there for, I don't know, 15 years. I don't think that's right. I need me a Jamie, like from the Joe Rogan podcast. I need me a Jamie in here in the closet. He's just sitting in the corner, and he gives me all the stats. I don't know. I'll do better research at some point. Anyway, the Celtics, getting back on topic, the emergence of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, specifically Tatum. Tatum has turned into possibly a top 10 guy in the league. If he has a really good night, the Celtics are a very tough team to beat, especially if Tatum's on and Kemba Walker with his experience scoring. There's multiple guys on that team. Oh, they can give you 20 points that night. Jason Tatum is going to be expected to give you 20 points every night, if not 30. But Jaylen Brown can give you 20. Kemba Walker can give you 20. Gordon Hayward, if he's anything like he used to be before the horrific ankle injury, he can definitely give you 20. Marcus Smart has shown the ability to be a force defensively, Patrick Beverley almost, and give you 15 and 3 steals and 3 big defensive stops. And those are all pieces that you may need to win a game. In this bubble, I think, for one, it hurts that they're in a bubble because they don't get home court games. I think the Celtics have played well as a home team, and with that fan base and all that rich history, of course they've played well in Boston. But then again, they've also struggled on the road, and I think if they played Giannis on the road, especially with Milwaukee having home court advantage, I wouldn't like their chances in that game. So I think the bubble helps in that capacity, where they don't have to play strictly home and away games. It's the same court every night, so if they can get locked in, if they can get under Brad Stevens and get into a similar thing in one night, they can win. They can beat the Bucks 4 times, even without matching up very well. They're gonna have to. Jason Tatum's got to score 30 a night. He's got to. You can't match what Giannis does, but he's got to match Giannis's impact on the floor. Kemba Walker has got to play really well and make up for what Jason Tatum can't do to combat, Giannis. And then if one more guy, if a Jaylen Brown or a Gordon Hayward show up one night, I mean, we all know they're not going to play Taco Fall, as much as we would love to see that they're not playing Taco Fall. But if a Gordon Hayward or a Jaylen Brown can show up also one night or for that game, then they've got a chance. They can win it in almost any game they wanted to. Right now, I don't think I'd put them in the NBA Finals because I don't think they can beat the Bucks, like I've said. But they are. If I had to name 4 teams who I think are going to win the championship this year, based on what I've seen so far, my 4 teams would be, from the West, it would be the Clippers and the Rockets. Those would be my 2 teams for the West. And then my 2 teams for the East would be the Bucks and the Celtics, in their respective orders on who I would favor the most. I'd say Clippers-Bucks would be the series right now. But I think the Celtics have a chance at making it all the way into the finals and a chance to win their 18th championship. Although I think they're a couple years away before they do that. Jason Tatum still, he said it himself, he's still got more to improve on in his game. And so if he can improve on that, and if Jaylen Brown can get better, Brad Stevens is not going anywhere. He's one of the youngest coaches in the league. So they've got a chance to win championships down the road. I don't think they need to win it now. I don't think they will win it now. But I just wanted to talk about them because I feel like a lot of teams are just thinking, oh, it's Bucks, Lakers. That's what it is. It's got to be. It's Bucks, Lakers. It's two guys going for the MVP. Well, to be honest, I disagree. I think other teams have a chance. I think it's Clippers, Bucks. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it was Clippers, Celtics. And I definitely wouldn't be surprised if it was Rockets, Celtics. I'd be a little shocked. But shocked in this case would be different than surprised. Because, well, I don't know. That made sense in my head. It doesn't make sense anymore. This is my first podcast episode ever, so I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Obviously that didn't show because I didn't check to see if I had enough storage on my iPhone. So bear with me. It'll get better, I promise. Also, it's 11 p.m. at night on a school night, so not to say that I'm tired while I'm doing this, but this wasn't what I woke up to do in the morning. Anyway, or whatever my big sound would be, we do the next topic alert. For our final topic of the day, we have my MLB team, the Atlanta Braves. Big controversy in the past 2 days. Obviously with this new MLB season that came out of nowhere, almost. They had the summer camp, and then they started earlier this month. The Braves were looking like they had a great shot to make a World Series run this season, to be honest. I think we had a really good chance. Our hitting is really, really good. I think we could use one more guy that can hit a jack, 1 out of 3 nights. Our bullpen, I think, is one of the best in the league. But our starting rotation is where we're lacking. We need another ace. We needed another guy, a veteran ace, I'd say, because Soroka is he's 24 now, which is Soroka's the reason I decided to talk about the Braves today, because as you may know, if you follow the Braves, if you follow baseball in general, I doubt anyone really follows baseball enough to listen to this podcast. But if you do, I'm sure you saw Soroka tear his Achilles. I watched the replay of it. You can tell right away that's a muscle. That's obviously no bone. It just sucks, dude, because, the next day it's his birthday. Think about that. It's your 24th birthday, and you're in the hospital, and you have a torn Achilles. And you can no longer play baseball for the rest of the season. Just fucking sucks. Just sucks. So much. It just pisses me off, because we had such a good fucking chance, and now we have no starting pitcher. We have Mike Fulta, whatever his name is. He's decent. He doesn't have a killer pitch. Soroka's got the sinker, and that pitch is killer. Max Fried is not turning into anything. Let's just be honest with ourselves. It's Max Fried. We need a Bumgarner or something. But just to make it worse. Earlier today, apparently Ozzie Albies is put on the 10-day IL. Matt Adams was put on the 10-day IL. Matt Adams hit a jack the other night, and Tyler Flowers also hit a jack the other night. So now the Braves are bringing back Nick Markakis. Uh, I love Big Dick Nick. Okay, never mind. No, let's retract that statement. I'll edit that out. No, I won't. I'm not editing that out. Gosh, that was. Woo! If you're listening to this, Nick Markakis, I know you're not. I know you never will. But if you are, you're welcome. You're welcome for the compliment. Anyway, Nick Markakis is coming back. So I guess that's something to be excited about. But, Will Smith, one of our closers, honestly, he's got COVID-19 right now. So who knows how he's going to be when he returns. It's just, man, we just haven't really caught any breaks last season. I mean, obviously, I feel like it's the same thing with the Celtics. We're a little too young. Acuna's young. Swanson's young. Albies is young. Even Ozuna's not a veteran yet. Soroka's young. So, I think, we are a few years out before we win a championship. I really hope we do. Well, Atlanta needs a championship. I mean, after the 28-3 controversy, after the Hawks disappointing in the playoffs multiple times, being swept by LeBron, being, not showing up in playoff games. The Falcons has been a disappointment. Our hockey team is gone as of, 8 years or something. Atlanta needs a championship. The Braves need to win one. And with the 60-game shortened season, and yes, we're guaranteed to basically make the playoffs because I think they're bringing in 18 teams or something crazy. But, with this shortened season, I think we had a crazy chance to. I don't think we would have gotten past the Dodgers, but who's to say we wouldn't? Because we don't have to play in. We have to play in Dodger Stadium, but we don't have to play in Dodger Stadium with a bunch of fans. So, I mean, we wouldn't get nervous. As long as we don't cheat like the Astros did, how we might need to. Can't believe I even would think about that. We might need to beat the Dodgers, if I'm honest, but we wouldn't cheat against the Dodgers. We don't cheat, It's only a few franchises that cheat. The Astros, the Patriots. That's basically it, to be honest. But I think we would have a chance to make the World Series at least. And who's to say there wouldn't be fans by then and we get to watch a World Series? Obviously, I want them to win a World Series in front of a home crowd. I would love to be at a World Series game or a playoff game of any stature because Atlanta needs one, man. And, Truist Park would be a great place to win one. I sang the national anthem there. That's crazy. I mean, that was amazing. You never really understand how big a stadium actually is until you're on the center of the field and you're right behind second base. You're right there where Dansby, Swanson, and Ozzy Albies would stand if there was a shift. And you're thinking, damn, maybe playing 8 years in minor league baseball is actually worth it. Anyway, I think I'm running out of steam. It's late at night. The Coca-Cola I had only got me so far. Anyway, I guess I'll end this here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I have no idea how this is going to sound, as my headphones have yet to come in, so I can't listen to this live, so I don't know if this is too loud. I bet I'm not used to this, that I cut out a bunch or I got super loud a bunch because, like, I could tell I was moving the mic back and forth from my face like I am doing right now. And maybe my levels were a little different the entire time. Maybe I laughed too loudly into the mic. But I don't know. Who cares? Just doing this for fun. Spending the money because I just want to do this for the experience and say, oh, well, I did this. I did a sports podcast, and I had a lot of fun doing it. This probably will conclude it for the first episode of the Pucylowski Sports Hour. This will probably go up on YouTube. At some point, I'm going to have a Patreon set up, as this is not the only podcast I plan on doing. I plan on doing a podcast with 3 of my buddies, which will be called The Next Door Neighbors. And we're going to get this. We're going to film those episodes at 7 a.m. on a Wednesday before school. So that'll be absolutely hilarious. We'll be just waking up, drinking a Coca-Cola or something, eating Chick-fil-A, filming a podcast, and we're filming it at my neighborhood's tennis court. So that should be funny. It'll be funny because it'll be like the middle of December and we'll be freezing cold or something. And then also I plan on doing another podcast with another friend of mine because we're the only 2 in a lunch period. So we just sit alone together. And at some point we're going to get bored. And we're not going to have any homework to do. So we're just going to we're going to do a podcast because why not? Talk about whatever. As for the Next Door Neighbors, it's going to be more hopefully comedy based. There'll be funny moments in there because we think we're funny. We'll talk about weird stuff. There'll be a lot more Fortnite talk on there if you're here for the Fortnite. I hope you're not. 2 of my friends will talk about their anime addiction. We'll talk about the real world, whatever. Politics, who knows. And then as for the podcast with my friend from lunch, I have no idea how that's going to go. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me on the Pucylowski Sports Hour. Hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Maybe you didn't like what I had to say, especially if I made fun of your Lakers and your LeBron James. So all you LeBron James bandwagons out there, I don't respect you guys that much, but I can understand why you might cheer for LeBron. But he's not winning the title. I'm sorry. Not how it's going to work. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I will see you guys in episode 2, whenever that is. I might be talking about the NBA. I might be talking about NFL and college football. I don't know. I'm a high school senior. I'm going to make it up as I go. Peace, guys. Thank you.